Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Adam Dorsay, a psychologist in Silicon Valley and the host of SuperPsyched, a podcast dedicated to supercharging your life. Each episode contains fun, high-quality interviews with experts looking at psychology from all angles. SuperPsyched is your tool to get more of what you want in your life and less of what you don't. Any listener of this podcast knows I am a big fan of friendship. I often muse on an idea I got from Esther Perel, who said that we used to live in villages where we had people who served many roles. Now we expect our significant others to fill all of the roles of the entire village. Sadly, recent polls suggest that while people may have many virtual friends, the number of real-life ride-or-die friends is on the decline. This trend suggests multiple unfortunate outcomes, including the undue stress it places on our primary relationships, since no one person can replace an entire village. Recently, when I learned about Anna Goldfarb and her book, Modern Friendship: How to Nurture Our Most Valued Connections, I was all in. Anna is a journalist whose work has been in the New York Times, The Atlantic, and so many other media outlets. As you'll hear, she sounds like the voice of friendship itself. I agree with friendship author Dr. Marissa Franco, who said of the book, "When Anna Goldfarb writes, she makes you feel as if you're her dearest friend. Read it, and your friends will be thankful you did." So listen in as Anna and I talk about modern friendship. Anna Goldfarb, a hearty welcome to SuperPsyched.
Thank you for having me.
I loved your book so much. And the only thing I didn't love about it was I wished I had written it myself. Like, it was the book I wished I had written. It was pitch perfect. It was the right book for now and for future years. And you hit it out of the park. You immediately pull us by the heart and introduce your father. And something rather tragic. And I was wondering if you might start there.
You know, there's a lot of friendship books out there. There's a lot of books on connection. I had been reporting on friendship since about 2017. And, you know, I think we all are feeling this, like, what is going on right now? Like, are things harder? Am I worse? Am I better? Like, do I need more skills? Are my skills outdated? There's just been a lot of confusion about how to maintain friendships in this like insane world we're in. And I was reporting on friendships throughout the pandemic, which was a really fascinating opportunity because all at once, simultaneously, everyone was asking these questions about their social life of like, well, how do I determine who to spend my time with? How do I determine whose connections to keep going? How do I determine to get rid of friendships that I no longer serve me? There were just all these questions we all were fielding together collectively on a global scale, which is just a wild opportunity as a journalist. There was incredible demand when I was writing for the New York Times of like, we need articles now about how to live now. So it was just a real incubator and laboratory for me to think very deeply about these things. I've talked to so many different researchers, academics, about all these different aspects of connection and friendship. It was about 6 months into the pandemic, I had written a story for the New York Times. Should you reach out to that friend right now? Because there was a lot of advice of, okay, we're all home, it's lockdown, just reach out to people, you know, send that text, call that old friend, let them know you're thinking of them. But I was thinking, well, that's not very nuanced advice. Like, why did you stop talking? And how is one conversation going to translate into an active friendship? Like, normally what happens is you call that old friend, you have a wonderful catch up, and then you're like, well, I don't need to talk to you anymore because I know that you're good. Sounds like you're doing great. Keep it real. Like, it wasn't leading to actual connection. You know, there's so much about this loneliness epidemic, and the advice was just so lacking. There's no nuance. That's what this article is about, of like, well, why did you stop talking? And how should you proceed when you diagnose why there's this distance in the first place? And I went over to visit my parents who lived in South Jersey. And it's only 20 minutes away from Philly. So I just kind of bopped over, and my dad shared with me that that article really opened a wound in his soul. And he said that he thinks he was reminded of his friend. In the book, I call him Marty, old childhood friends. They've been friends since, playing basketball on the playground. And my dad had fallen out of touch with Marty for about 10, 15 years. My dad didn't know why they stopped talking, and he was scared to reach out. And I was like, Dad, let me fix this for you. I can help. Here's his information. Like, here's his wife's Facebook. Here's his Facebook. I think this is his cell phone. Here's his email. Here, this way you should write to him. And I kept pestering my dad for updates of, did you reach out? What happened? Did you send an email? Did you send a text? And my dad just sheepishly was like, just couldn't do it. He was paralyzed by the uncertainty, the anxiety of uncertainty of, I don't know what, if he'll ignore me, then I don't know what I'll be hurt. He just talked himself out of it. And 6 months after that, it was January 2021, my dad had severe infection and had to go to the hospital. And at the hospital, he contracted COVID. And he came home from the hospital and he got sicker and sicker. And it was sort of this horrible whirlwind. It just felt so powerless. Like my dad got sicker and sicker and he ended up dying from complications with COVID 3 weeks after he got back from the hospital. I mean, I just can't believe my little family was touched, was impacted like this. It just felt surreal. My mom also got COVID from my dad. And it was like, am I going to lose both my parents in one fell swoop? Like, this is horrifying. And my dad didn't have no friends at his funeral. He had 4 people at his funeral. My sister in Boston.
Because of the COVID situation.
Because of COVID, we didn't have the vaccine yet. My sister couldn't attend because she was 6 hours away and it wasn't safe to travel. None of his grandkids were at his funeral. His brother couldn't attend. I mean, it was really like just such a horror to see my dad, who had so many friends, so many connections. And I know he deserved better. 2 days after, or maybe it was a day after his funeral, my mind went back to that conversation about his friend Marty. And I reached out to Marty's son on LinkedIn. And I said, hey, I really need to speak to your father. Could you put us in touch? And 45 minutes later, I was on the phone with Marty. And he was so happy to hear from me. And it was just so gut-wrenching knowing I had to break this news to him. And I told him, like, are you sitting down? Are you somewhere quiet? And he's like, yeah, what's going on? And I shared, my father died 2 days ago from COVID. And Marty just burst into tears. And we talked a little bit about them growing up. And I said, my dad really wanted to connect with you last summer. We had a whole conversation about it, how much he missed you. And Marty interrupted me. He's like, I bear responsibility here too. I could have reached out to him as easily as he could have reached out to me. And we talked a little bit longer, and he's thanked me for calling him. I invited him to my dad's online Shiva that night. And I saw Marty's name in the faces in the online Shiva.
Virtual
I saw
Shiva,
him there. Yeah, the virtual Shiva.
For those who don't know what a Shiva is, it's a form of grieving that's done in Jewish homes shortly after the death of the beloved.
Virtual Shivas suck. Literally, it was just, I think I was just numb. I mean, this is just like, anyway, that's the tangent. But seeing him there, I knew would mean so much to my dad. And maybe like a week or two after that is when I said, I want to write this book about friendship. I don't want anyone to talk themselves out of connection the way that my dad and his friend did. And I want to understand, like, why do we do that? Why do we have our phones full of friends who we love, but we never call them? We never reach out. Like, what is going on here? That's when I knew I wanted to write this book. And that was my mission.
I'm so glad that something good came out of something so horrible. There are layers of awful as you convey this story about your father's passing. Everything from the fact that he was way too young and the fact that he was social and people couldn't be there at his funeral, let alone his Shiva in person. And of course, that you lost. You describe him as literally your favorite person, obviously, besides your husband in the world. I mean, he was a surfer. He was a physician. I mean, he was just awesome. He loved cats. Like he was my people. Most importantly, he was your people. And he was your person. And so you were able to find a way to look at your father and Marty's dilemma as being something that is greater than just them, that this is another pandemic of sorts. And you also cited offline in the green room that there is a shedding of friendship that occurs every 7 years. And I would think that everybody who has a wedding video, and many of us do have a wedding video, when you see, your bride's people, your groom's people, many times you've fallen out of touch with at least one or several of them. And what is it, based on your research and having had your finger on the pulse of friendship as much as you have in the science, what is it that you think causes these friendships to fade away? I'm guessing that in some cases they are organic and good and part of an evolution, but in some cases they're really unnecessary and actually harmful.
It's a great question about why these friendships are buckling. And there's so many forces that pull on us that historically have not had to negotiate. For instance, we move around a lot more than, think of where your grandparents lived. My grandma lived in the same house for, 60 years. We move around more. We have more challenging jobs. We travel longer for jobs. Parents are spending twice as long with their kids than previous generations. We have the same amount of time as generations before, but the way we choose to spend our time is very different. We have all different milestones than before. We have different identities than before. James F. Richardson wrote a fantastic book called Our Worst Strength, and it's about individualism in America. And he does a great job pointing out that in the 1920s, the number of identities you had were very, very limited. It's like, I'm a woman, I'm married, I have children, I'm in this religion. They're just like a few things. But by 1970, those identities had exploded. Am I a parent? Well, not necessarily. I might not be a parent. Am I single? Am I married? Am I separated? Am I divorced? Those were options that weren't available to generations before. So now we have so many different identities that we're trying to reconcile with other people around us. If you were in the 1950s, most people on your block were married, had children, went to the same shul or church. You had so much in common. But now it looks so different. We're not all the same religion. We're not all the same places in our relationships. We don't all have children, or it's just so different to find common ground. And it's really been just a monumental shift in how we relate to our neighbors, to our friends. It's so hard to keep up friendships when your routines are disrupted and you move across the country. One of the most compelling things I learned about friendships is that every friendship needs an about, and the about needs to be clear and compelling. And that's such an artful way to understand why a friendship is active or not. It's like, well, what's our friendship about? Is it clear and compelling? And a lot of these friendships in childhood, the about is outdated. It's like, well, what do we talk about when we get together? Old neighborhood, people we knew. Like, how often do I want to do that? Every 7 years, every 12 years? Like, the about is outdated. And sometimes abouts can be absent. When you meet a new friend and you're like, oh, we should go out for lunch. And you're like, well, why do you want to go out for lunch? What are we going to talk about? What are we going to do? Like, what is this friendship about? And just understanding that that's how desire works in a friendship gives you a huge leg up in your friend making efforts as you think, well, what is our friendship about today? People always ask me when I say that, like, well, what are some abouts? Like, what do you mean? What are some friendship abouts? And there was a great study done in 2021 about why people make friends. And it's usually for 5 reasons. The first is career. The second is mating, to meet people, to date. Third is what they call desirable qualities. And that means someone's like hilarious, funny, is kind, you're into the same hobbies and passions, like it's attractive to be friends with them. The fourth is emotional support. And the fifth one is what they call sociability. And that's basically just being out and about with people. Like you join a book club, or a kickball league just to be in the mix. So those are all fantastic abouts in a friendship. When you think about what is my friendship with you about, Adam, it's like, well, desirable qualities. We both are into the connection space. We have friends in common. If we had emotional support, the more abouts you have, the more imperative the friendship is to you, the more you're going to value it. Like my best friend, our abouts are almost all of those things.
Damn,
except mating, because we're both married. But we have career in common. We have desirable qualities in common. We have the same hobbies and passions. We give each other emotional support and sociability. We go out, we invite a few other girls with us and get pizza. Like, she's clicking all those boxes for me. And it makes sense why she's my best friend, because she does all those things for me.
That is such an important thing to name. And one of the great strengths of your book and your work has been the naming of things. I think there's a quote that is often attributed to Confucius, and I'm going to say it poorly, but it's something to the effect of all wisdom comes from the act of accurately naming things. And one of the things that your book does is exactly that. You even come up with a taxonomy, a very clear description of types of friendships. You use various joining locations, everything from a bathtub to a hot tub to swimming pool to a bonfire, which is so funny and perfect and relatable. By the way, everything in this book, so relatable. You've mentioned the 5 components, which absolutely land with me. Like, I'm really grateful that my wife meets all 5. And outside of the mating, I could see that you and I would be able to relate on, career, desirable qualities, emotional support, and sociability. Will we become those types of friends? The future is as of yet unknown. But I love that the more abouts, the stronger the connection. That's absolutely brilliant. But I love that the more that we're able to name these things, I believe the more power we have, the more we understand the motors of our car. I mean, we have something that describes the tire pressure and how much oil we've got, how fast we're going, how much gas we've got, all those things on our dashboards. And that, over time, there are even more things because there are more things to measure and some things fall by the wayside. But I love that you're doing this with the book. You've come up with a dashboard. Let's talk about those types of friendship as you see them, because I think it's also really good to name those.
Yeah, those numbers were based off of Robin Dunbar's research. He's a British anthropologist. He's written books on friendships and he's studied the social orders of chimpanzees. Like, these are numbers that he came up with. And I reimagined them as water features to highlight how fluid these relationships are. The most intimate tier I call the bathtub. And Dunbar found that for men, it's usually one person and it's usually their significant other. That's their most intimate relationship. But for women, it's usually 2 people. It's their significant other and their best friend. So just in that bathtub, that's some interesting negotiation going on. The next outer layer,
especially between genders, which is very, very interesting because there can be jealousy. It is
very interesting. And I honestly wish I could just dive into the bathtub and just write a book, but no one will know what that means. But I'd be diving into the bathtub. What is up with the different ways that we seek connection? It's very different. It's fascinating. The next tier I call the jacuzzi tier. And that's because it's the 3 to 5 people that are your closest friends, people you'd thank in an Academy Award speech, people who would be the most likely to offer you a hug, people who play really important roles for you. And I get into the roles a little bit later in the book. The next tier I call the swimming pool tier. That's 10 to 15 people. And Dunbar calls that the sympathy group. And I thought it was sympathy, like, oh, you have a bad day, you just want a shoulder to cry on. But no, the researchers called it the sympathy group because if anybody in that swimming pool dies, you would be very bummed. That's why they call it that. You would be very upset if any of these people just kick the bucket. The next tier I call the beach bonfire. It's 50 people. And think if you're having a big birthday party, there's all the people maybe cousins, coworkers, all those people in the fringes of your social circle. And then the last group I call the water park because I really am stretching the metaphor here. I'm not going to lie, but it's 150 people that Dunbar calls the weddings and funerals group. Those are the people that come out for those big milestone events. Those are people you've known from all different corners of your life. My hope with having this visual is to help you understand it's so fluid. Dunbar found that falling in love will cost you 2 close friendships because your availability and priorities change. So it's okay, people are dipping in and out. Well, there's this saying with friendship that drives me up a wall that says friends exist for, a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I wanted to know why. I'm well, why is one friend a season and one's a lifetime? And that's a question that was propelling me. And I think that with all these explanations working in concert, you can understand it's a reason because, well, what's our friendship about? Well, it was about being in grad school. Okay. But then we graduated grad school and we didn't have a reason anymore. We were in the same job and, we did emotional support. We cared about career. She's my best friend and she moved away and now she's not in that career field anymore. Is it any wonder that our friendship is suffering because the about is outdated? What do you think of that framework?
I think it's brilliant and it's helpful to have these frameworks to understand these flummoxing phenomena that are occurring around us. And like, why did this friendship fade? Oh, yes. It's not that people are disposable like batteries. I see it as we're fellow travelers and some people will be friends who you meet overseas and then the friendship ceases and you might hear from them once in a blue moon for a thing like a wedding announcement but other friends transcend. And then there's that funny phenomenon, like you meet somebody on vacation and they're amazing on vacation because everybody's just in this dopaminergic, just spectacular high. And then you go out for dinner stateside and you realize, wow, we have absolutely nothing in common.
Yes. And, one of the biggest refrains when it comes to friendship is we should get together sometime.
We should get together sometime. And my research helps explain why that's such an ineffective strategy. It's a strategy from when we, had a more simple life, when you were 14 and had $2 to your name and had nothing on your calendar. And it's like, do you want to get together? How's Friday? Like, sounds great. Like, yeah,
what are we doing? Who knows?
Exactly. But you actually described various forms of correspondence and you graded them in terms of how compelling they were. So by the way, folks, in this book, there are so many nuts and bolts and the how-tos of how to have friendships, including how to break up with friends, which we may address at some point because it's one of the most common questions you get asked. But let's talk about missives. Let's talk about correspondence. How do you say something that is compelling that might, because let's face it, we should get together sometime versus I really want to get together with you because.
I don't think people spend any thought about how their message lands in someone else's inbox. I think it's very much, here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I want. Here's what I'm craving. I want to see you. I want to get together. I miss you. But to the recipient of these messages, it's a homework assignment. We're encouraged to reach out. It's a loneliness epidemic. That's all the advice we hear. Reach out, reach out. But it's not effective when you do a low lift message that puts all the burden of deciphering the message on the recipient of, okay, you missed me. All right, well, my dad's actually really sick. My cat just puked. My daughter's, we can't afford her camp this year and we're fighting about it with my spouse or whatever. So these messages land in our inbox with no context, unsolicited. And then it's a to-do list item for the other person to decipher it. Well, why do you want to see me? Why me? What do you want to talk about? Do you want to sell me an MLM thing? Like, what if I get dolled up and get a babysitter and meet you and you're like, how are your leggings? Do you want to buy some? I'm actually involved with, it's like, what am I walking into?
Has this ever happened to you? It's like, okay, so here's why we're getting together. It's like, oh my God, I just blocked 2 hours for this. Yes. Like, what did I do?
I mean, we're in the age of grifters and some people are grifters and they don't know it. And they're just like, well, I just want, and we have to be more explicit about why we're reaching out, what we hope to see happen, make it easy for the other person to say yes. And this is where my background as a freelance journalist really comes into play because my whole job was getting people to say yes to things I want from them. When I pitch an article to the New York Times, like I imagine my editor is so busy that I have to distill my ask into such a way that makes it easy for him or her to say yes quickly.
So give an example of a really good email for somebody to say, let's do lunch. Not only should we get together, I really want this. I'm not coming from some solipsistic place with no context. I'm coming at you with an intersubjective awareness that you have a world and I've got a world. Yeah. And this is how both of our worlds will be better if we get together.
I actually started a real friendship with a woman. I found her on Twitter. She lives in Philly and she works in media. Mm-hmm. And that's a little unusual in Philly. Like we don't have a booming media scene here. So I reached out to her and said, hey, I see that you work in media in Philly. I live in Philly too. Well, what neighborhood do you live in? And she's like, oh, I live in, Bella Vista. I'm like, girl, I live in Bella Vista. Where do you live? And she's like, oh, I live right here. I'm like, you're a block away. I'm like, would you ever want to get together for a drink? I'd love to hear about how working in media is for you in Philly. And she said yes. And we got together. And when we were together, I was like, tell me about yourself. Like, where'd you go to? Like, then we kind of got to know each other more. But the media was my in of like, oh, we must know people in common. We should get together. I want to hear about what it's like working in media here. And she shared with me that, she's a little bit younger than me. She's 35. She said most of her friends have moved away in the past year and it's been very lonely. And I was like, you know what? I can help. I think you'd really hit it off with my other girlfriends. Why don't we all get together? And I told my other friends, hey, I met this great woman who works in our field. I think we should all get together and like see what's what. This was successful for a few reasons. One, I heard her pain point. I got the in because of the commonality of we work in media. And then I heard her pain point and said, I can help. Here's what's in it for you is I think you'll meet some really cool women. And then I told the other women, here's what's in it for you. I think you're going to meet a really cool person that can be a great connection. And then I reflected on this and thought how different it would be if I reached out to these same three women and said, guys, I've been feeling really lonely. Like, I want to get out of the house. I want to get a drink on Friday. Who wants to come? Well, to that, then I'm asking them, I don't know how compelling that is for other people that I'm lonely. And I'm asking them to haul their cookies to my neighborhood because I'm lonely. What was different was here's what's in it for you is I think you guys will really hit it off. And we had such a great time. It was such a successful hangout. We decided to do it every month. And we've been like kind of had this loose group chat. So these strategies are very low lift. I know that's sort of a buzzword. They're very sensible and nothing's out of your comfort zone. It's really doing the work ahead of time and then identifying opportunities to deepen the friendship. So I live this knowledge. I'm having the best friendships of my life. And part of it is having a strategy. We have strategies for our health, strategies for education, strategies for career. But when you say, what's your strategy for your friendships? Most people have none. I have a strategy.
So many people would probably even blanch at the idea that there should be a strategy as it relates to friendship, because shouldn't friendship just happen organically? And I get this all the time about sex with longtime married couples. Well, shouldn't sex also just be natural? And the answer to that and so many other of life's important things are you need a strategy. You can fail to plan and you can plan to fail if you do. And some people might even blanch at the idea of like, oh my gosh, it sounds so salesy. Like I'm trying to draw this person in. Well, yeah, of course you are. There needs to be a reason for this. So it can be an adjustment. And when we realize the roles that friendship plays on our health, even our marital health, I mean, as Esther Perel describes so beautifully, we used to live in villages and we had several people to fill different roles. And now we expect our spouses to fill all the roles of the village. That's really bad. I think maintenance is one of the reasons that there's so much attrition, that people don't know how to maintain their friendships.
One of the most helpful concepts that I've learned about friendship is that there's two categories of friendship. There's memorial friends, where you're not in frequent communication, but there's a long history, there's lots of affection. And then there's active friendships where you see each other all the time and you talk all the time and you have a really compelling about. So just learning that really helped me kind of put down the heavy backpack of feeling I have to keep every connection I've ever had in my life active. Right. That's not realistic. A lot of my friendships, friends that moved away, people I grew up with that I care deeply for, those are memorial friendships. That means that this friend may not know the details of my life today. They may not know the struggles today. They may not know I'm not eating dairy this month because I've these lab tests I just got back. Like all the little, like your active friends will know. I'm going to suggest restaurants that don't have a lot of dairy because I know you're avoiding dairy. A memorial friendship may not know that about you.
Yeah.
But active friendships, I triage them. And this is what I learned is that I prioritize my bathtub friends and my jacuzzi friends. I reply to their emails, their texts, calls. They're my VIP list. for people in my swimming pool and beyond, I might take a day or two to reply to their messages or their invitations. And it's not because I love them less or anything. I understand where my energy has to go. I can't be that level of friend for everyone I've ever met. And what was really helpful to me in understanding how we got here is that most of us live in a spoke network where it's like a bicycle wheel and we're in the middle and we have these branches of cohorts from all different parts of our life, but they only share common history with you, not with each other. Modern friendship is a lot more labor intensive because we don't have help keeping these active friendships afloat. We have to individually make a case for each friendship of why should I keep investing in this friendship? What is our about? Is it clear? And is it compelling? So all of this is to say that I have a strategy of who's on my VIP list and the rest proceeds accordingly. But my book will help you understand who belongs on your VIP list. One of the questions I had was, how do I know if I'm picking good friends?
Love that.
Like I've had friendships bust up left and right. It's like, how do I know if I'm going to pick a good friend to invest in? And that's what these like strategies will help you discern is, am I picking good friends? Are these appropriate VIPs for me to be prioritizing? Do we share the same values? That's one of the most important things. That's one of the biggest reasons friendships break up is a mismatch in values. So it's like, slow down. Do you share values? Do you see the world the same way? Like, what's in it for you with this friend? What's in it for your friend to be friends with you? And when you understand it, you can prioritize it.
Love that. And so one of the other cliches that is almost eye-rollable, but important for us to unpack is, in order to have a good friend, you got to be a good friend. And I was wondering, what would be on your list of qualities that make a good friend?
Oh my gosh. Well, I would be an outstanding friend to a few people. Not everyone gets it.
Well, to borrow from that. John Mulaney, who actually is Pete Holmes. One of the titles of his shows is I'm Not for Everyone. And realizing, hey, wait, I'm not for everyone.
You know, I'm a pinball. We talked about this a little bit before. Like we grew up in upstate New York. I grew up in Chicago, outside Chicago, went to school in New York City. Now I live in Philly. So I'm a pinball and I had to learn, like, I have to constantly make new friends. I don't have any help. You know, I have a school group that we all help come up with things. I didn't grow up here and went to a synagogue and they help with organizing things. It has to come from me. I have the clipboard.
You're Julie, the cruise director. There is no third place.
We all are our own cruise directors, and there's trade-offs when you're in charge. Being a good friend is really about making people feel seen and safe and supported in all the other roles in their life. And one of the best things I do for my friends is I recognize you're also an employee, you're also a spouse, you're also a daughter or a son, you're also an uncle. Like, I know that you have all these other roles that are important to you. And my job as a friend, an adult friendship, is to support you in those other things. And what that looks like is, for my bathtub friend, I write her children's birthdays in my calendar and I get them little presents and I give them little Valentine's Day presents. And I look at what's important to her and I make it important to me. I care about it because she cares about it. And that makes her feel held. That makes her feel like I see all the different parts of her.
We want to feel felt. That is interpersonal neurobiology, according to Dan Siegel, feeling felt. And really zeroing in, not just doing the golden rule, to giving them what you would want them, but knowing them well enough to know that this is what they would want. And, you know, some people call it love languages, but I call it the platinum rule, doing unto others what they want done. And so recognizing the children's birthdays, like, what a great move.
I take my friendships really seriously because I love my friends and I want them to feel that love. And that goes back to my dad with Marty, of they let their own anxieties and uncertainties get in the way of being there for one another. After my book came out, I sent it to Marty and I was like, weird story, you're in it. And he's like, what do you mean I'm in the book? I'm like, just read it. And I wrote in the inscription, I'm looking forward to seeing the impact of sharing your story with the world. And he told me that since we talked, he'd been really hard on himself and feels like he was a horrible friend to my dad. He felt really like really beating himself up. And I said, no, you were such a special friend to my dad that he never forgot you.
Mm.
I think that helped heal him a bit. And then I talked to him after he read what I wrote in the introduction, and he was just blown away by it. He asked if he can call me from time to time. And I'm like, of course, you can always call me. I'll always pick up. And the point is, I started this book to do something for my dad, but I ended up healing his best friend. That's how powerful friendships can be. And also in the agreement, you asked, like, what do I want from this book? And I said I already did it because I healed my dad's best friend in a way that nobody else on this planet could have done for him. And so we talk about my dad. Sometimes he calls me and he shares stories about my dad. But this is just to underscore how special these relationships are. Friendships are one of the only relationships between peers. That's why they're so delicious. It's changed me forever.
It's so beautiful. I mean, you and I both care so much about friendship. And I gave a TEDx talk on friendship and adulthood because I saw so many highly friendable people in my own office who were born in Ohio, went to school on the East Coast, had their first job in Texas. Now we're in Silicon Valley. All these friendships fell by the wayside. They have no friends anymore, highly friendable, and they're lonely. And there's no how to. And it's particularly for males, but females too have that complaint as well. While I'm heartbroken by what happened with your father, what you have grown as a memorial to him and the legacy that is behind and the healing that you've provided to Marty and to yourself. And I'd love to think that your father somewhere is like, hey, good on you, Anna, as he's surfing in that other world where he is now. Because I know he was a surfer. Anna, I can't say enough. This is required reading. What would be some of the other skills or tips that you would give my listener as they relate to friendship in any category that they just might not know about?
Let me see. I'm trying to think of tips I do in my own life. We never see models of this, but friendships can be negotiated. You can say, I want to spend more time with you. What's important to you right now? How can I help? And here's what that looks like. You know, I see you're starting a new business. I want to spend more time with you. Do you want to, enroll in a business class? Do you want to travel? Oh, I really want to, like, what's important to your friend and how can you help them achieve it? And you can renegotiate, knowing that every friendship needs a clear and compelling about. Maybe your about used to be like going out, meeting people, but now you've settled down and you're struggling of what's our friendship about now. You can give it language of what's our friendship about? How can we spend more time together? Do you want to, join a book club? Do you want to start a book club? Do you want to see more movies? We could do like a movie club. Like, what's important to you and how can I help you experience it or achieve it? It's so powerful to say, I want to spend more time with you. What are you working on now? How can I help? And just see where it goes. People will be more likely to keep you around if you care about the things that they care about.
What you're saying even conforms with Buettner's Blue Zones. Out in Okinawa, Blue Zones, by the way, for the listeners who aren't familiar, are places where people in greater percentages live to be centenarians, 100 or higher. And one of those places is Okinawa. And one of the things that they attribute to their longevity is something called moai. Moai is a group of people who meet with a common purpose. Meeting with a common purpose. And, you think about the old African idea of if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I mean, humans have social brains and we're meant to take on challenges together, having a common purpose. You talk about the why of why are we getting together? And saying to your friend, hey, listen, I want to be with you so badly. And I enjoy your company so much that I'm going to do some of the lifting next to you as you do this thing that's important to you. And I think that's one of the greatest definitions of friendship. Sometimes a friend will share with me his or her burdens of life. And they'll say, oh my gosh, you're paid to do this. I feel so bad for, and I say, this is a different thing. I'm not acting as your psychologist. I'm acting as your friend. And this is exactly the stuff I would want to be talking about because I don't want to just talk about the sports or tech. Sports and tech I love, but those are the appetizers. I want to get into what's actually going on. And unlike in a session, I will share with you what is going on in my life. One other thing, just to bookend to you, it's just too synchronistic for me not to mention. the day of my licensure exam, my final licensure, you take the national licensure and then you take the California state licensure. And the day of my California state licensure, I was, tripping hard and at IHOP, freaking out over this test that's coming my way, eating some pancakes. And I get this text and it says that my mentor, Martin, had died. Now, you talk about Marty. He never went by Marty, but he went by Martin. And Martin and I had fallen out of touch. He was my mentor. He was one of the most important people who's ever lived for me. And my opportunity to see him in person is over. And I lived under this illusion, I'll get around to it. And I know for sure that your dad and Marty must have had some theme or variation on that. Like, we're not talking now, but we will. And one of the most important things to remember is, it was sung by an old timey singer, but it was also done in a ska fashion by the Specials. It's later than you think. And it always is later than we think. And so if you're thinking, I'll do it someday, it would be my unsolicited feedback. And I wonder what you would say just before I get to my final question. Would you advise people to just reach out?
I would advise them to reach out and explain why they're reaching out. Explain what they hope to see happen. You can even say, just want you to know I'm thinking of you. You can tap this with a heart so I know that you've seen it. No need to reply. So much of friendship is uncertainty, and uncertainty creates anxiety. So one of the best gifts we can give our friends is certainty of saying, I love you. I love being your friend. Here's my expectation. Like, I know you're busy. Just want you to know I'm thinking of you. Just feel free to tap a heart and know that I'm giving you a hug. That's such a gentle message to send to someone. If I don't want to add another to-do list on your item, I don't want it to feel like a burden that you have to text one other person back. I understand with you just tapping a heart that I feel the love. Like, isn't that the kind of message you want when you're overwhelmed of like, I'm thinking about you, no need to reply? Actually, with one of my best friends, it's become a memorial friend. She has 2 young children. And during the pandemic, we couldn't get together because of, no vaccine. And when we finally were able to get together, the first thing I told her before the waitress even put our menus down was, I know you think about me all the time and I think about you all the time, and it's okay. It's okay that we can't get together as much as we both want. I will always be here for you, but I know we're not there yet. And her shoulders like relaxed immediately. And it was like, I love you. And she goes, I do think about you all the time. I've been so upset that you lost your dad and I feel bad that I haven't checked in on you. I said, I know, I feel it. It's okay. And we've started having a slumber party for our birthdays every year. Whoa. And we just had one 2 weeks ago. And that's how we practice our friendship now, because she can't we're looking for we're looking for a place to practice our friendship. And now we're doing slumber parties for her birthday every year. And she comes over and we just laugh. We used to live together. So it's wonderful to wake up and like have her here. But if I didn't give her the reassurance of, I love you, it's okay that in this season, I know our friendship is on hold. It's okay. It made it more durable, and it made a friendship that she wanted to fight for, because you want to fight for the people that see you of like, I see that you have 2 small children. I'm not the priority. It's okay. But I will always be here for you. And so that's my tip, is to remove uncertainty, to say the thing, to say, I see that you're busy and I'm here to support you. You name it. You call it out. You say, hey, this is what's up. And her shoulders relax. Yeah. And the two of you enjoy your sleepover and recognize that the strengths and the limits. And I love how you refer to it in this season. So I'm going to ask you my final and miracle question. If, Anna Goldfarb, you had the magical powers to confer upon all humanity one insight or skill that would dramatically improve the lives of the individual, and since we're all connected, it would impact the people around that individual, what would that insight or skill be, and how do you imagine it would impact them? I would say embrace being a sidekick. So much of popular culture is the main character. You want to be the Harry Potter with people by your side. But studies show that people think having more friends will feel good, but what feels better is being considered someone's best friend. When my best friend points at me and says, that's my best friend, that's so powerful, because it shows that she recognizes my good character and my inner beauty in a way that just saying I have a lot of friends doesn't. everything in our world is set up where we're the main character. Our feeds are customized to our liking. Our social medias. What are you thinking, Anna? What are you doing, Anna? Tell us about you, Anna. But friendship requires us to be more interested in your friend of, well, what are they doing? What are they thinking? What hardships are they going through? So I am fully my best friend's sidekick. When she has something, an errand, I'm like, I want to go with you. I want to do it with you. I want to be the Sean Astin in the Hobbit movie. I'm not the one with the ring. I'm the one next to the one with the ring. And that truly is what friendship requires. I think people have it backwards. They're like, I want people to throw a surprise party for me. I want people to celebrate me. But no, friendship is, who do I want to admire? Who do I want to celebrate? Who do I want to throw the party for? And when you shift that perspective and take it off of you and your ego, it's going to feel so much better. You're going to feel so much better. You're going to feel like there's meaning. You're going to feel like your life has purpose, and you're going to feel more connection.
I love that. Be the Sam to the Frodo.
Yeah, I'm like, what are their names?
Be the Robin to the Batman. Be the Kelly Rowland to the Beyonce and Destiny's Child. Yeah, I love that. So great. Be
the sidekick. And it's so wonderful to see your friends, triumph.
Though, but what I hear from that is be interested. Don't worry about being interesting. Be interested. Be a fangirl.
I am obsessed with my best friends, what they do. I think it's so cool. I'm just their biggest fan. And it's such a different way to look at your friends than who's showing up for me, who's doing what for me. It's just a miserable place to be because there's never enough for another adult to do for you.
You asked me at the beginning of this, in the green room, like, what has this podcast done for me? And I said, it's introduced me to people like you. And that was an authentic response. It's 100% correct. And I think about my friends for whom I'm absolutely a fanboy. I've got Jed Goldstein, who I wish lived closer to me. He's out in South Orange, New Jersey, killing it in a Grateful Dead tribute band, Working Man's Jed. I only get to see him once in a while, but we absolutely make sure that we stay in touch. And we spend 80% of the call laughing so hard we're barely intelligible. And I think about various other people in my life who I'm absolute fans of. My buddy David Gertner, who can do the Death Ride, which is this 13,000 foot climb on a bicycle. And, and he's really cool. My buddy Matt, who's a cognitive psychology professor, who blows my mind, like all the time doing crazy, crazy stuff. So I'm definitely a fanboy for my friends, and I will intend to become even more of a fanboy. Anna, it has been such a blast sharing you with my listeners. Thank you so much for writing your book. Thank you for sharing your time, your heartbeats with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Modern Friendships available anywhere books are sold. If you're curious about this stuff, if you're interested, if you read Adam's book and you're like, I want more, definitely check it out. And I have a free excerpt of the book on my website, annagoldfarb.com. No email sign up required. So you can just go check out a few pages, see if it's up your alley, but come along. I'm here to help.
100%. It's available on audio. It's read by Anna. It's great. Modern Friendship is a must read. I've said it so many times throughout this episode, but I can't quite say it enough. So glad to have met a kindred spirit. And it is truly a master class in modern friendship. So thank you for this, Anna.
Thank you for having me.
This is Dr. Adam Dorsay thanking you for listening to SuperPsyched. If you know anyone who might like it or who might benefit from listening, share it. And if you like the episode, please hit subscribe.